Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. My name is DustyGogoat. Today I'm with the LumiosePost.
Hello.
SoulSilverArt.
What's up?
And our special guest, long-awaited friend of the podcast, Lord Keeper Toby. How you doing, man?
We are so back, and I am so hyped.
We are back. We are back. Today, what we want to do is give you a platform to not only discuss your Pokemon Day 2025 predictions, but we want to chop it up and talk Legends ZA. We want to get your takes on maybe what we could see next year during the 30th year anniversary of Pokemon, dude. We're so glad you're back to YouTube, and we're so glad to have you back on the podcast.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And you guys have been sustaining me this last year. I've loved speculating through your podcasts.
That's great to hear, man. That's great to hear.
Oh,
so,
yeah,
dude,
thank you.
Hit us with your first prediction for Pokemon Day.
Okay, it's a radical one. It's a wild one. Here goes. I think we're going to see more. I think we're going to see more of Pokemon Legends ZA. I gotta throw it out there.
Oh, no.
You think?
That's a guarantee.
Oh, my God.
It's been a year. Just go another year, I say.
I don't even believe it, dude. I don't think we're getting to that.
They don't even acknowledge it. Just no trailer. What do we do in that scenario?
Just assume it's cancelled. I think we're at a point where, unfortunately, and I'm going to lower the expectations anyway, because it's like, if we expect the world, then it's going to disappoint. But if we don't expect much, but I really think the safe thing is that we will only see a gameplay trailer. We'll see some starters, we'll see that kind of thing. But I do think there's a possibility that we will, at the very end of that, hear them say, by the way, we are working on a new Pokemon RPG for the Nintendo Switch 2 that will be coming out next year. And that'll be about all we hear of that.
That's cool.
And I'm on a coin toss as to whether we are getting this game in August, because we'll get a release date, whether we're getting it like August, July time, or whether we're getting this like November time. Could go either way for me, but it will be strongly one or the other, either a summer release or a holiday release.
Dude, I forgot about this, but like also since we talked to you last time, we have the announcement of a Switch 2, the Switch's successor. Do you have any excitement about that? I mean, I think the real information we're going to get for that is going to be in April. But when we talk about the timeline for the release day of Legends ZA, I mean, listen, we'll know in a week. But yeah, I tend to, I don't know. I would be floored if we get ZA like in the middle of the year, and then there's another like oddball game at the end of the year or something. Like ZA is positioned as a dual launch title for Switch 2 is kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. And when I say dual, I want to be clear here. I don't think we're getting a Switch cartridge and a Switch 2 cartridge. It is just a game that will run on the Switch 2 and maybe be like, better optimized on it or whatever. Or there'll be some kind of like additional bonus. Like if your save file is on a Switch 2, you get this in game, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Love that.
But I'm not expecting anything like Pokemon Switch 2 this year. The historical conventions of Pokemon, and they love to break conventions, is that like typically they're a little bit behind, and to be honest, that's a good thing. I don't want them to rush out on the new hardware, even with our year delay. Like I still would like, I'd still want them to take their time and to work hard on it all. The only thing that throws a wrench in this for me, and we were talking about this a little bit off podcast, I want to know your guys' thoughts about this, is the competitive Pokemon circuit. We've not had in years and years and years, if ever, a competitive scene that's run more than 3 years. Sun and Moon and Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was a 3-year cycle. Sword and Shield was intended to be a 3-year cycle. COVID got in the way. Now we've had Scarlet and Violet, and it really does feel like they've run through all the competitive formats you can do. I'm not saying that means we're going to get more DLC for Scarlet and Violet. I don't think so. But I do think for Worlds next year, does there need to be some kind of compatibility patch for Scarlet and Violet with ZA, where those Pokemon can be put into Scarvy or
man,
like,
I think
or something. I don't know.
I love this idea. I've definitely advocated for the idea of a patch for Scarlet and Violet. Technically, I don't think it would be that difficult, but also I don't think. I think if they're going to introduce new Pokemon for Legends ZA, what they don't want to do is say, well, you can go get those Pokemon in the game you already have. Right? They would want to keep those Pokemon exclusive until Gen 10 or whatever the next game is. But I'm with you when it comes to the competitive circuit.
A patch doesn't quite change that, just because like you you can patch it that the Pokemon are transferable in,
Sure.
but like you
Still have to
don't
obtain them in the
make them
new game.
obtainable. You
Like
make
I
them
have to play Legends
non-breedable or whatever.
Arceus to get Enamorous,
Sure.
but it is
Yeah.
eligible to be used in Scarlet and Violet.
So
That's fair.
if they introduced a bunch of strong new Pokemon in ZA that could show up in Scarvy so that Scarvy can have like a healthy, interesting, exciting fourth year of competitive, otherwise, like, what are they gonna do? Like,
I really don't think that
I don't know.
they're. Yeah, I really don't think that they're gonna like patch them into Scarlet and Violet because it's just.
It'd be weird.
I don't think that anyone is working on Scarlet and Violet anymore. From like whispers around the community, I don't think anyone's working on it anymore. There's like a small group of people, and I don't think that they have made the game models of whatever new megas or new Pokemon that we are gonna get in Legends ZA, like for Scarlet and Violet. So. I don't think anyone's going to just whip up some game models to throw in there. I think the only way that it goes is somehow Legends ZA has a competitive scene. Like we can use Legends ZA some kind
then
of.
what? It's like a 1 year long competitive.
Yeah, it's weird.
scene, or-
But
Weird,
isn't that what they did with Auraz? Isn't that what they did with the X and Y? Like
That was
they've
2
done that in the
years.
past.
Auras
X and Y was 1 year.
Auras and X and Y. No, but they're the same. They're like I think they're the same
Are they?
engine. They're the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're running
yeah.
on the same
Just
stuff. Like,
new stuff.
Well, so what
Okay,
I'm
but
thinking.
how about-
Yeah, no,
No, go
you're the dude. We've said our piece. You're the guest. Go.
It's like you're the guest. You do it.
I was just gonna suggest like maybe Mega Evolution. It like they just retrofit Megas for Scarvy and give those Mega Stones. But I mean, it's the
Yeah,
same
it's
thing
so
as what you were
much.
saying, Soul.
Yeah.
Where you're like,
It's so
it's the
also
exact
it's
same thing.
there's no mega like gimmick in Scarlet and Violet. And like if we only get megas in Legends ZA like as the new things, then they can't even bring them into Scarlet and Violet. So like I was saying, the only two options are we literally have the same meta for until 2020 late 2026, like
It's
November
2 years
2026.
from now, basically.
It's so long. Because we've already had like 2 years
Yeah.
now as well. So it's been what 4 or 5 years total. It'll be I'm not good at math, but the other option is just that they do have some kind of competitive. Did we see it with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee or no, not Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon was the same.
Like competitive is in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but it did not have a competitive circuit.
BDSP did
Right.
not have a
Like
competitive
I
circuit.
can battle you right now, Soul, but it never was like a regionals or worlds.
Right, but that's what I'm thinking though, is that like they don't make it a competitive circuit, but there's still player versus player competitive online in Legends ZA, just so that.
to-
But
we
that's a
have
different
something
conversation. I think
I know
the
it
big-
is different. I know it
Yeah.
is different, but I'm just saying there's a little
But then
incentive.
the
to play
implication
something.
there is that there's just one weird year of like
I
where
agree.
Worlds is like
Yeah.
that doesn't and it doesn't line up to me based on Pokemon Legends Arceus, right? Like that's what I'm basing it on. Maybe ZA is like a totally different game.
Yeah,
but
this is what
if
I'm
it is
thinking.
like set in the future, for example, or something. At what point is this a Legends game? Like,
Yeah.
where
what
is
makes
the
it
crossover
Legends?
here?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I think
We've
that
been talking about that all year, Toby. So
yeah.
welcome to
Where
the
you been? Where you
conversation.
been? So I think the third option to what you're saying, Soul, is that Legends ZA is actually a lot more similar, and in a lot of ways, is essentially the same engine as Scarlet and Violet. And ZA really is
I don't think
your Auraz to X and Y. It's your Heart Gold, Soul Silver to Platinum. I think there's a possibility that is
There's
something that we
possibility.
see.
Hey.
And the through line, the connective tissue between Legends ZA and Legends Arceus is the storytelling, right? It's the setting. It's the yeah. I think the gameplay could even still be pretty similar.
I've got another option for you. And
Yeah.
actually,
Okay.
this makes fiscal sense for Pokemon because you're selling a subscription. They release a battle sim within Pokemon Home. Now, at first, please give us a
that
reason
would
to
just be
actually pay
cool.
for this thing, obviously. But that doesn't stop the sale of new games because we still need to buy the new games to get Pokemon in there. It actually makes hacking, I think, a little bit harder in terms of like how we get our Pokemon and that kind of thing. And it also solves the problem of at competitive tournaments, if they wanted, they could just have a giant Pokemon Home that players take from
Sure.
and can generate whatever they want. If they released some kind of battle sim and that became the standard, maybe that's something we could see but like, I don't know. That feels far-fetched. That's far-fetched.
I'm with you that it's far-fetched, but if I can, because I love what you're saying, so I want to add some fuel to the fire. We learned last year that there was a formation of, because Pokemon Home is developed by Ilka, and we learned last year that there was a formation of a company called Pokemon Works, and that is a basically a collaborative effort between Game Freak and Ilka. And so the thing is, like, I don't think that my biggest, like, no, there won't be, Home won't get a competitive circuit, is I do think that Game Freak would want the Game Freak project to be where competitive is. But if Pokemon Works is taking over Pokemon Home, it is a Game Freak project, you know?
Well, yeah, this is it. And the thing is, you could even charge extra. So because here's the thing, right now we pay, what is it, 15 quid a year?
It's really not
Pokemon
that much.
Home. We pay 15 quid a year for Pokemon Home storage. If they did Pokemon Home Stadium or Pokemon Home Coliseum or Battle or whatever this thing is going to be called, and it's a battle sim, first of all, we're going to charge you an extra $15 a year to have the battle functionality. Okay, great. So now we're paying $30 a year for that. On top of when they drop Pokemon Legends EA and you're going, well, these Pokemon are really, really powerful, but they're locked to the game currently. They'll come out for Pokemon Home soon. You have to buy the new game to get the Pokemon in there. So you're buying the game anyway, but you're also now paying this $30 subscription every single year.
I think it would have to be an option.
Makes a lot of sense.
No, I love that. I think it would have to be an option,
I would
though,
cry.
because I think the biggest thing is that people buy the new game. Like, when people buy whatever the new generation game is for a variety of reasons, right? Whether it's shiny hunting, collecting, just the story, right? Maybe it's just you want to play with friends, whatever, right? Nostalgia. And I think oftentimes it ends up being a gateway into battling, into playing VGC. So as long as the main game is still like a pathway to that, I think, bro,
I think
a battle simulator, 100%. I would love a new battle simulator at some point. And really the benefit of a battle simulator is so you can like do what Pokemon Showdown allows you to do, which is to min-max your Pokemon and to test out your teams.
That's what I was going to say as well, is that it will decrease the people wanting to play Pokemon Showdown. Like, and they probably don't really care or don't want people playing Pokemon Showdown as much as people do. So it would decrease that a lot. But also the whole gaming industry has kind of in recent years gone towards this like whole live game scenario where it's just like, you know, Call of Duty or Fortnite or whatever, where they just constantly are updating this online free thing that you play, and you know, there's microtransactions or whatever. And that would be like a gaming industry.
You could imagine, you could imagine a world where, for example, you build using free play in Pokemon Home Battle Sim. You're like, okay, I want an Enamorus with these stats and with these moves, whatever.
In an Ultra Ball.
That, but you can't use it in a competitive tournament because what they want you to do is it'll have a recommendation. To get this Pokemon, please transfer from Pokemon Legends Arceus to get it with the stats we recommend putting in Pokemon Home. Or you can pay a $1 fee to like then max out the Pokemon. How horrendous and predatory that would be.
I wouldn't want that, but I could see
I don't want it.
I'm kind of for that, though. I'm kind of about it. I have been dreaming about this game. I've been dreaming about this game forever, Toby.
I could see them doing it. It's like, how do we get more money out of people? And to be fair, if you could pay $6,
I wouldn't want that. Yeah.
If you could pay $6 and have your competitive team that you want, that you've been testing, like unlocked or the stats edited, like golden bottle caps you're effectively buying. Like, and again, it's not going to be $6. It's going to be 600 Pokecoins, which you buy with dollars.
Yo, that's actually really interesting.
You know, unlock golden bottle caps in this thing, or rainbow bottle caps that do absolutely anything you want to a Pokemon at once. Now, all of this is super.
No, I like this.
Bringing it back to Pokemon Day.
Well, I just want to add to it. I do think if a system like this was implemented, right? Yes, no one wants microtransactions in our core series games, right? Leave that to Pokemon Go. Leave that to the spin-offs, right? But if that was allowed and there was a battle simulator thing, I do think the battle simulator, the customization of your Pokemon would, in the same way that Pokemon Stadium does this, it still limits the almost like the personality of the Pokemon. You would still have base form of the Pokemon. It couldn't be shiny. It couldn't have a mark. It couldn't have a nickname, right? It was a standard size, let's say. And
well,
what
you can
that
bring
does,
in your own Pokemon too.
Yes.
Obviously.
And what that now does is, yes, if you're only in it for competitive, that is something that you can do, right? It's kind of sterile though. And what it actually kind of increases is the value of actually playing the RPG, collecting your own Pokemon, creating that special bond, catching a shiny, collecting the ribbons, getting the marks, right? It actually increases the value of those Pokemon immensely.
They could even restrict your ability to, if you do this, like, okay, so you've bought you've bought Legends Arceus, you've caught an Amorous, you've transferred it into Pokemon Home, you've got your desired stat block. You can pay $1 to get the Rainbow Bottle Cap. Now, the Rainbow Bottle Cap is going to change all of the moves, stats, and whatever you want.
Ooh, that's
whatever
cool.
you like. But you will no longer be able to transfer this Pokemon back into back into the game.
Sure.
What that does is, I don't know
it
what exactly
preserves
this
the
solves,
ecosystem.
but it basically
the economy
means that like you don't have people trying to like buy a game and then on day one like buy a Pokedex
and then sell them almost.
Like, you know, whatever. Well, they wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, exactly.
Why would they?
Exactly.
Why would anyone ever? For example, there's this huge issue with hacking, right? In that like. I could go on eBay tomorrow if I wanted and buy a perfect IV shiny Mew, right? I can do that right now, and I'll probably get charged $7 by someone on eBay to do it. But if the Pokemon Company can make their money doing it, then that shuts down that industry instantly. And no one is doing it no one's going to undercut them on eBay. No one's going to do that service for 50 cents per Pokemon or whatever. It also just deals with anything like legitimacy issues. It deals with anything like this Pokemon couldn't have been obtained. Something like this would be crazy.
I don't know why they haven't done it.
It would. Pokemon would love it because there's so many opportunities to make money here in all different ways. The community would hate the fact that they're going to pay for it, but of course they are. And I think more people than ever would try competitive. I would. I absolutely would try competitive. Yeah, because I would sim the battles and I would test and test and test and test and test. And I would know that what I don't have to do is I don't have to hatch eggs. I don't have to do any of that stuff. I can just pay $7 to the Pokemon Company to get their official ones that I'm not going to have any legal issues with. Now, all of this is crazy speculation.
Absolutely.
The only thing that this solves is this weird gap that like, are we really gonna have a fourth year of Scarby?
Yeah. Let's go back to that.
Can I say something to that point? Do you think that you brought that up because maybe Gen 10 doesn't come out in November 2026, but a little bit earlier, like October or November or
they
August?
drop it on Pokemon Day, the day Red and Blue released.
No, not that early. I don't think that early.
I think it'll be end of year 2026. I think
that
makes sense.
That's what I'm saying, but like a little bit earlier.
I mean, the issue
what is the benefit
is
of that?
Still doesn't fix competitive. Like, let's say they drop it in August. Okay, well, Worlds is in August, so you're still doing the Scarlet and Violet Worlds. They drop it in June. There's not time for 2 months.
Here's the other crazy idea, and I don't think this is happening. I do not think this is happening, to be clear.
Okay.
The other way you solve the competitive issue is that you announce the Legends EA is coming out August this year. And also coming January next year is Generation 10. And it comes at the front end of the year, allowing competitive 2026 to be in that engine. And you get a whole year of celebration.
Yeah.
They know
it's
they
not
can sell a game
far-fetched.
in January. It's not...
It's not crazy.
It feels unconventional. And it feels like... Does that BDSP and Legends Arceus shared a launch cycle because of what they were and their relationship to each other. This isn't even sharing a launch cycle. This is just announcing 2 products at once. So I don't know about that, but like,
what about a faithful remake? You don't think you think the dream's gone of that?
Before we go into the faithful remake,
we're just getting into it.
I think that's a very possible thing, though, what you just said, Toby. I think it is. But for February 27th, though. I don't think January. I think they would it's the 30th anniversary. We're going to drop it like February 28th.
No, you're right. You're right. A February release. But a February release for the biggest game of the last, that they're going to have for a long time. And Gen 10, are they really going to risk that on a February release?
Exactly. No, but it doesn't matter because they sell so good no matter what.
I think the benefit perhaps is if you release a game earlier in the year, right, on the 30th year anniversary, you can then promote that game throughout the year. You can also, this is the exciting thing. I've thought about this before. I like to think Gen 10 could potentially be that living game that we're talking about. Maybe Generation 10 lasts 5 years, but we have these additional DLCs. We actually have services contributing to the experience of this Generation 10 engine.
Totally possible.
Right?
Totally possible.
And that could be something cool.
More,
because then
more Legends, more remakes. Yeah. More DLCs.
Yeah. DLCs. I'm thinking DLC. I'm thinking you release a Gen 10 game, right? We're all speculating maybe it's like a seafaring adventure, right? An island hopping adventure. Whatever it is. Let's go with that for the example. If that's the Generation 10 game we get, every little DLC pack like Kitakami is us visiting a new island or a new section of a region that's either new or existing, right? Full of all, and what you get there are all these little tastes of culture, and it keeps the game alive for a long period of time. Yes, over the course of 5 years, we would also get Legends games. We'd also get the faithful remakes. Like maybe that's what you're saying.
And and then each one would become competitive, would funnel into this bigger.
Yes, exactly.
thing.
Yes, which is kind of what we're saying, and I think we're this is actually great. I think we're like suggesting this for Gen 9, but I don't think Gen 9 is ready is up for that. I don't think Gen 9 has the chops to be this living game. I don't think it plays great. I don't think it looks great
correctly before they add other play.
Yeah.
This is we're suggesting this for Pokemon Home, but you're suggesting is like
I'm suggesting this for Generation 10.
Yeah, and I think that could be a really good way to go about it, because something I'm worried about, something we've talked about, is the idea that like after the 10th generation of Pokemon, we've done this for the last 30 years, every 3 years, new Pokemon game. Everyone's excited for the build up to Gen 10, and everyone was excited for building up to 1,000 Pokemon and like all these other things. Can you really maintain the same excitement doing the same thing over and over and over again now, given that the next big anniversary is like the 40th already, the 50th? It's a long time away. Now, the answer to that is, okay, so now we're going to change it so that it's one generation every 5 years, but that is like a mega project, and that like you're still, Legends games, they can release in that 5-year span, they can release 4 lots of DLC, 2 Legends games, and a faithful remake, and it's all integrated into not into the same game, but like the moment you buy a Legends game, you know that within 6 months, those Pokemon will now be the new competitive for this thing, and like that's just gonna continue to grow and grow and grow. And then after 5 years, we're like, okay, I'm ready for a new generation now. Give me 100 new Pokemon at once. Like, let's go.
But that first generation will not be stale. Like, I think right now, we're all sick of Gen 9 because of what it ended up being. But if we had a robust system that allowed us to like island hop what I imagine is like I don't know, Toby, like it's so special to be able to go to Kitakami, right? I think that's really special. It's just like mystery land. We don't even know where it is. But what if instead of going to Kitakami, we go to like, this is what I was saying on another podcast. We go to Olivine City, and there's a little hub. There's an open world hub. It's not the entirety of the Johto region, but you can go to the Whirl Islands. That's like just north of Olivine. Sorry, that's just south. You can go a little bit north, a little bit northeast, and now you can go to the Bell Tower, right? All the myth of Johto is right there on that land, and that's plenty of content, and it allows us, I think it's kind of a cheat code. It allows Game Freak to explore these existing regions, right? We're all clamoring for remakes, right? And I think Game Freak's like, I'm done. Game Freak, they're like, what's the point of a remake? It's for one to let us like relive an adventure, and that's kind of we get the glorified ports of the faithful remakes. Yeah. I think Legends is great because it recontextualizes a lot of the Pokemon history and lore that we know, right? Which is good. It's like give us new stuff to chew on. This is fine. Like I like that. And then I think an opportunity is to actually give us a little glimpse of the Pokemon world and all of these in a 3D engine, right? The Pokemon games are a sandbox for me, and I think a lot of fans are disappointed with BDSP because of the expectation of wanting to, like play through the Hoenn region in 3D, right? People were able to.
Here's the thing. I can feel what we're doing here is that we're all getting very excited about some very big ideas that do sound amazing, but of course they do.
Listen, I'm beyond
If the topic of this is what do we expect for Pokemon Day?
Sure. Nice.
Back down to
Awesome.
earth. Truly, we'll see ZA. We'll get a release date. We'll see the starters. We'll see a couple new Pokemon, and we will probably learn that they are working on something in the background for the Switch 2 next year. That's where I'm at.
Yeah,
And then all this stuff sounds insanely amazing.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I can't go in. Like, we can't go in feeling that that's going to happen because it's just not. Like
100%.
I think
history has told us otherwise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's good. That's a good regrounding. I think we hit the ground running. But I'm ready
on
to
the subject of ZA, moving into that, Toby, the big question, because I don't you've been absent for a year. I don't know if you noticed. They drop a trailer on us and then it's radio silence for a year. So, the question is, where the heck are the starters? And who the heck are they?
I'm going to play it way too safe.
Okay.
I'm also hopeful for this because it means we're guaranteed another Legends game. I think we're going to get the next segment of the Johto, Alola, Unova series of starters. I think we're going to get probably Snivy. I think we're going to get probably Totodile, and we're going to get probably Litten. And that feels like a very lame load of choices just on the basis that, like, I'm just basing it off of what we got in Legends Arceus, but it means we're guaranteed a third Legends game. It means that they basically booked that they were going to do 3, which is really, really cool. Obviously, it means that we know the starts of those, but then it helps complete those trios down the line with
that's fun.
All having regional variants.
It makes sense that they would all have something in the end, right? Because it's kind of weird that one of them gets a standout.
Yeah, we're talking about, like, Cyndaquil is originally a Johto starter, so the idea would be each original trio.
So it'd be like Totodile, Snivy, and Litten. And then after that, there'd be another Legends game with hypothetically Popplio, Chikorita.
Man, I totally disagree.
A good example would be that they gave Blaziken that Mega Evolution, and then in Oras they gave Swampert and Sceptile.
And Charizard G-Max form, and then they immediately gave it to...
That's cool. Okay, that makes sense.
So there is precedence. They have done that. It's so like, we just gave this to
likewise,
Cyndaquil,
then.
so...
And Pokemon X and Y, they gave Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur Megas, but they gave Charizard 2. So could Legends ZA now get a second one for Venusaur and a second one for Blastoise?
I doubt it. They get like...
The other thing we could see is if they did that, what they might be tempted to do, because they don't want to, like, spoil the... If they do that, it's like broadcasting to the world that the third Legends game is coming and the starters will be Chikorita, Popplio, and whatever. The other thing they could do is just have one set as the starter trio, but also just have the other trio in the game with their regional evolutions as well, just to like basically kill that suspicion and leave themselves open for the next game to do whatever they want to do.
See, the way I look at it,
that's a bold prediction.
I guess the way I look at it is like it's like the starter Pokemon that we get in Arceus, it's like they are out of context. They like their original trio is completely irrelevant. I feel like even in Johto, the starter Pokemon in Johto are only starter Pokemon because they were selected and they happen to have some similar evolutionary traits. They're easy to train for a young person or something, right? But I think outside of Johto, it's just any other Pokemon. And we see other trainers that are not the main character in Johto, like Lyra, have their starter Pokemon be Meryl. What's so special about Meryl? Nothing. It's just that was her first partner Pokemon. So, but I do think it would be
Pika-Blue. It is special.
But I think most of all, because I think it would be cool if like I love Totodile. I want a Totodile evolution or a regional form or whatever.
Naturally.
But I think what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought. We can move on.
It's all what you were gonna
say. Well, I mean, I don't think that's that bad of a bet. My bet previously was that it was just gonna be Froakie, Finnegan, and Chespin. So if your bet's safe, then mine is horrible. I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
I think it's a bold prediction, honestly. To say that it would be the next set, because like you said, then there is like the subtle confirmation of another Legends game, and furthermore the subtle confirmation of what the next starters for the Legends game are.
Yeah, which feels like it feels like they're revealing too much if they do that, which is
right.
Would make me think that they would do something to subvert that later, either by having all 6 of the Pokemon in there or by doing something else with them. I'm not sure.
Sure. Yeah. I think about how like so many people were so married to like the Chinese Zodiac theory for the fire starters.
Sure.
And then Fuecoco comes up, and like we knew that it was supposed to be like a horse, a snake, or a bull, and it ended up being an alligator.
Crocodile.
You know,
But some people squint really hard and they see a snake. Like,
I've seen some people say that the name for a male alligator is a bull.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. You gotta stretch it.
True.
My favorite
It
thing.
is true.
I don't know who was this bedspread. I heard someone say that actually you could, instead of looking at, and again, this is all just retroactive. It's not like proof of anything. It's just like if you wanted to maintain the fan theory, because that's all it is, you could stretch it from the Chinese zodiac to,
Stretch anything.
I think, just the general astrology, which includes some
Sure.
other animals. Again,
Yeah,
kind
like
of,
I think
kind of irrelevant.
Fuecoco's in there, and like Mayan astrology. Because
Sure.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I think I wanna call him out, and it wasn't him, but I think that might have been SB Juju, because he did do a
Maybe,
video
yeah.
on it.
It could have been. All right, Toby. So, listen, we're all excited for ZA, right? I think that's where the eye is on the prize with that.
Yeah.
And we don't even need to get into this, but I actually have been enjoying. I put down Pokemon Sleep after a year and a half, and I have been enjoying TCG Pocket, and I'm actually looking forward to just some mild little updates. That's been those side games have been really fun for me. Again, this year when we didn't have a main series game. Is there anything else maybe before we move on to really getting into Legends ZA that you'd,
obviously there'll be what feels to be the usual Unite Go TCG Pocket.
But if you don't care about it, it doesn't matter.
Updates. There's nothing I'm super interested in. You know, I'm sure there'll be some kind of Pokemon Day celebration masters. There'll be something like you log into the app, you'll get a bonus, like if you do it today or for the next week or whatever.
Sure.
So there'll be something like that for all of those. New projects wise, maybe there's like is there a Netflix show or there's some kind of like show in the works or movie?
Yeah, but is there anything that's like speaking to your heart? Like, is there anything where you're like, this is missing from the Pokemon community right now? This is missing. Like,
I feel like you're leading me on to talk about like Gen 1 games on
no,
Switch. I feel like you're
I'm
like,
not. But if that's where your heart is, no, I swear.
He's watched the show enough to know.
I swear.
I know exactly where this is going.
I was not saying that, but
think they're gonna do
while you
ports of
mentioned Gen 1
Sword.
ports, that's a great segue.
But as
Let's
you've been there,
let's talk about it.
No, to be honest, no, I don't. I think if there are going to be Gen 1 re-releases at this point for the Switch, it will be on the 30th anniversary because that's the time to do that. And as for later ports of, like Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald and all these other things, I'm not expecting that at this point in time. In fact, I think, again, the Pokemon Company faces a challenge after the 30th anniversary in how to keep interest alive and how to keep that nostalgic group of old Pokemon fans coming back and rebuying and redoing stuff. So anything like that, Gens 1 through 5, I think they will be holding tightly, ready to drop them anytime after the 30th.
Yeah.
And remakes is the other thing, which not expecting anything right now.
No.
Hopefully I'm pleasantly surprised and we get way more, but I say that, but actually, the less they're working on, the better quality it is, hopefully. So, it's the double-edged sword.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, could always be third party. Last remake was a third party.
It was
game.
funny. I was watching back through all the past Pokemon Presents earlier today, and the most exciting one was the post Legends Arceus one, where they're like, hey, we've got updates for BDSP, we've got updates for Legends Arceus, and we got the teaser for Scarvy.
Yeah.
But we're not in that position right now. We've got a game coming up. We know what the game is coming up.
Are we?
I don't think we are. I don't think we are,
We
because the
might
difference
be.
is when they revealed Scarlet and Violet, Legends Arceus was out. It's out already. We're not hyping it up. But Legends ZA, they have given us one trailer for it. And can we be honest, guys? It was barely a trailer. It was more of a, hey, this is a thing
it
we're
was a
working
teaser.
on. You know
It
what I
was a
mean?
teaser.
Some people don't
Yeah.
call it a trailer. They just call it.
So because of
yeah.
that, like, I don't think that they go, here you go, guys. It's Pokemon Day. Here is your first Legends ZA trailer. And we're immediately going to kill all hype from it and announce Gen 10.
No, but what they could do is announce. I don't even. The more we get into this, I'm not even thinking it's that crazy, right? If we only got a teaser last year, and that's all it was, just to be like, listen, don't lose your minds on social media. There is a game coming.
We lost our minds anyway.
But the actual trailer drops. Who's to say they don't do the exact same thing they did in 2022 or whatever?
Because
or
the issue is that it undercuts going forward.
And announce. I'm not saying announce Gen 10. I'm saying to announce Legends Arceus. I'm sorry, Legends ZA, and announce another Faithful remake or something
Okay, yeah,
and Gen 10. Bro,
no.
Imagine all
here's the way they do it.
these
Here's how they do it. Here's how they do it. They're like,
that's
hey,
too much. That's too much.
Here's the trailer for ZA. Also, we are working on something for the Switch too. We'll have more information about that at another time. And by the way, ZA is coming out in early August. And so we all get there to early August and we start playing ZA or whatever. And then you get to the end of the Pokemon World Championships and they're like, by the way, we have got an announcement about next year's competitive. Please take a look at this video. And it's a trailer for the first trailer for Gen 10. And they're like, this will be coming early 2020. And so we're all there like, it's coming Pokemon Day, it's coming Pokemon Day. And so they're ready for... Can you imagine?
That's insane.
They would do
actually
it.
insane.
I do not put anything past them at this point. There's just insane things that they've done. You're talking about that specific one where they did Legends Arceus, BDSP, and then did they not do Scarlet and Violet after that?
No.
Am I misremembering?
It was Legends Arceus and BDSPs, so it was like it
What
was
that,
off
20
the game stuff.
Yeah,
So it was
20
like,
or 2021.
BDSP, they were like, hey, we're working on you can go in now and you can get Shaman and Darkrai and Arceus. And Legends Arceus, they were like, hey, we've got this thing called Project Daybreak or Operation Daybreak.
Okay, it was the one after.
And then here is the teaser for Scarlet and Violet.
Right.
Okay.
That was a pretty hype one.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
I guess
people were expecting more for Daybreak, but
yeah, I think I don't know. I do think that like a Faithful remake, like that could be something they do because that won't undercut ZA. But I think I remember us talking about this in like December. We were talking about would there be news in January? Because the idea was news in January isn't impossible. It was January when they revealed Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra. Mm-hmm. It was January when X and Y were revealed. And so like my whole thought process was if they have something else planned to reveal on Pokemon Day, if they're revealing even Faithful remakes, but especially if they're revealing Gen 10, I would think that they would do a Legends ZA trailer in January so that the first real trailer for these games is not immediately undercut by something else.
I get what you're saying. I think the most we'd hear about Gen 10 at this point would be like, hey, we're working on a thing.
We're
working on
a
thing.
Yeah.
I think that's very possible. They did that for Sword and Shield, and they did that for Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee too, because I remember that's why I bought a Switch, was Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee wasn't out yet, but they had said like when Ultra Sun Ultra Moon was coming out, they said there's a Switch game coming out next year, and so I bought a Nintendo Switch.
The next 2 years, like again, we can let the imagination run away from us. And
let's let it run away. Let's let it run away. Toby, this is why you're here, man. We haven't talked to you all year.
I've only got a couple days to get this grounded, because what's going to happen is Pokemon Day is going to come out, and we're going to see a pretty
tame,
reasonable trailer of ZA. And by the way, it's going to look worse than the game looks when it comes out, and I'm not even convinced that the game's going to look good when it comes out, because
but what if it looks amazing?
These are some what he just said are some really good points.
like I gotta keep my expectations so low to the ground now, because I don't want my whole thing to be like, okay, I've spent so much time like reflecting on what I truly love about the Pokemon franchise, and it's like this in this game and this in this game, and then like immediately heads turn and that's all I'm thinking about. Because at the end of the day, I have to be okay with, and I think we should all try and be okay with the idea that the Pokemon games will be Pokemon games. And what the last 10 years has shown me is that means that they will be lesser quality than other games in the industry, and that the expectation, if I go in with my hopes high, I will be disappointed. But if I go in with my hopes low, then I might actually have a good time. And that's, that's
depending on what kind of person you are.
It's a very pessimistic way to look, but I got to do it that now.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of person you are. For me, I keep my hopes high, and then I'm not really disappointed when they're not met for me
Yeah.
personally.
Fair enough.
It's weird.
You're always
it's very
up there.
weird, but it works for me. I don't know. I just
fair enough.
I'm like, whoa, it's gonna be amazing, and then it's just like, it's good.
Yeah.
I'm happy, and that's it.
I am a little bit worried about the reaction that people will have to
Yes,
whatever
of course.
footage we see, because it will have that game footage, not final, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure there will be. If it's another Switch Pokemon game, there will be whatever visual markers are on those games, and
Absolutely, yes.
there will be aliasing, and there might be weird lines, and there might be weird things. And like the thing is, I'm not going to say those things aren't going to be in the game because I've played Scarlet and Violet, and I've been in caves in Legends Arceus. So like, I can't say these things aren't going to exist in game. But at the same time, whatever we see in trailer will probably be worse than the final product, probably.
Yes, most likely.
That said,
Man, I'm playing Arceus right now, man, and it's beautiful. I'm like, if ZA
It's
is
so gorgeous.
anything like Arceus,
just not in caves.
I don't have no idea what we're talking about. I think it's great.
Have you not been in the caves in Legends Arceus and seen the white outline?
Yeah.
Maybe when the game came out, not sure.
Yeah.
Pull this up.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But it's fine. I just think that like there is one. Maybe the teaser we see actually will be reflective of game footage just because of the amount of dev time it's had. So like when we first saw the first Legends Arceus trailer, that was a reflection of the build, but they had a couple months earlier than that, or thereabouts. I assume. And so the game was a little bit further along at that point, but still nowhere quite near to finished. Whereas, depending on how far along ZA is in production now, and whether it was intended to come out a year ago or whatever, we might see slightly more realistic expectations of what the graphics going to look like and how it's going to, we might, but again, low expectations.
I appreciate the low expectations. Yeah, but I'm also like,
But Dusty wants.
we
points.
haven't talked about this, dude.
No,
like,
Dusty wants
tell me
hype.
what I'm like. Tell me your dreams. It's like these predictions have
Dude,
two.
did you not hear the home thing a minute ago?
Yeah, that was pretty good. That was pretty good.
That is a dream. That is the dream.
So, yeah. So, what's it? Can I get a temperature check on the conversation? Or do you guys want to talk about ZA next? Would you like to talk about Generation 10 next?
I
Because
would like
we've
to
talked about
find
everything,
out-
but I want to
'cause I
whatever
don't-
Toby's comfortable with.
Well, I don't want to
whatever.
move, into Gen 10 before discussing anything like ZA. So
Sure.
if we want to talk about that, we should
Let's-
focus
let's-
on
let's
it.
focus
Yeah, let's
on
talk
ZA.
about ZA next.
But I do want to,
But-
I do want to know Toby's thoughts on two things that I think have been hot topics in the community. For one, time period. What are you thinking? Past,
Wait.
present, future.
Let's put a pin in this. We gotta plug
okay.
some. We gotta plug some merch. And I don't have any fancy music for this, so you guys are just gonna have to sing along, right? But we got new merch on our merch store. This drop is Kalos themed, and it's all about right. What we're calling it is legendary aura, right? This is the ethereal feeling of being the main character, right? Having that aura, right? As you traverse the streets of Kalos, this is what it's all about. I'm thinking Blade Runner. This is all designed by our friend Noivy. We got all these sick designs, but I'm thinking Blade Runner, sci-fi. Dude, I cannot wait to see the Lumiose Tower just running through the streets. We don't even know what time period it's going to be. That's what we're going to talk about next. But I don't know. Lumi, Soul, have you guys seen this merch? Do you have anything to
I
say
love
about
it.
this?
Dude, yeah, no, it's great. I think that it's gonna be a lot of fun to have this, and it's I'm a Kalos guy. I think this is nostalgic,
This is
but I
Lumi's
also
dream.
think yeah, this is literally my perfect merch. But I also think it'll be fun to we'll inevitably make some more ZA focused merch, and it'll be cool to have the two side by side. I'm the kind of guy who I like to that was my favorite thing about Legends Arceus was looking at Legends Arceus and looking at Diamond and Pearl. And
Sure.
And so I'm excited to see that in our merch as well.
Yes.
I love like the squares with the specific Pokemon.
Yes,
Kalos Pokemon.
so we-
Oh yeah,
That's
very
cool.
mystery dungeon-esque.
Yeah, so we got this one design. It's got 9 Pokemon on the back. Zygarde, the Legends, Aegislash, the starters, Mega Lucario's there. And it's got our little
That's regular Lucario, sir.
Oh, is it regular Lucario? All right.
Yeah, that's
they're,
regular.
They're both pretty. They're both pretty awesome. We got the HP logo on the front. We got some cell phone cases. There's also a design with on the back. We got the 3 Kalos starters popping out of the 3DS cart. I think this is so
That's
cool.
sick. That's
cool. So link in the description, shop.hiddenpowerpodcast.com. We got sweatshirts, we got phone cases, hats, t-shirts, we got everything. And if you are a channel member or a Patreon supporter, you do have a code for 10% off. So go claim that now. And Toby, are you wearing our merch right now?
One of yours.
That's
It's one of
awesome.
yours.
That was the Christmas drop, dude.
It's a great one.
Yeah, it's a little weirder than the ones that you're currently.
The weird ear horns.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool, man.
Pretty good, pretty good. All right, dude. So tell us, what are you thinking? Time frame for ZA.
I want it to be in the past really badly because
Same.
that to me evokes like a lot more. From a lore point of view, it for me, like the past is filled with mystery and to explain the current events and to kind of get those like satisfying answers and new questions. Whereas the future, I don't know why, there's something about the idea of the future feels I don't know why. It's just like it's almost it's a fanfic and they can change their mind, which is odd. There's an odd way to think because of course it's canon, whatever the case. So I don't know why, but for something about the past, I can't quite put my finger on it, but something about that appeals more to me. So I am hopeful it's the past.
Yeah.
If it is the past, I don't think it's going to be more than about 150 to 200 years ago, probably more like 150. I think it'll be about the same period as Legends ZA.
Sure.
I've been playing with this idea.
Legends Arceus, sorry.
Yeah. I've been playing with this idea. What if it's just like 50 years in the past? Like before X and Y? Like just
So
like
still modern day, more or less?
Yeah, but still in the past, but still before.
That would
I don't
be like
know why.
the 70s or the 80s for us.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it. I was like,
No,
yeah,
that's
I
cool.
think
it'd be so far away,
I think though the issue with that is like
Little
the
Y2K.
closer the closer you get when you're going backwards, when you're going to the past, the closer you're at to X and Y, the kind of, I guess, harder it is to make a story that makes sense, given that, like, if, I don't think this will happen, but if hypothetically the game is set, 20 years before or 50 years before X and Y, and like the ultimate
Like a
weapons
prequel,
tied
though.
into it, why
It's
would
like a
you not hear about that in X and Y? And then likewise, like
it's
Toby,
no
you
longer
were
a
talking
legend.
about, Toby, you were talking about how, the idea of the future, it like almost feels like a fanfic, and I'm kind of with you on that. Where I get kind of about the future is that I just, the future makes it a sequel, and I feel like a sequel, like you see this in movies all the time, a sequel can ruin the initial thing. You know what I mean? Like because it can kind of undo things, or it can like. So often I'll watch like a movie, it'll get a sequel because it did well like 6 years later, especially when like it's not planned. Like sometimes you see something like Star Wars, they have a story, they've got a plan, but then with sometimes you'll see like with Disney movies, they'll make a movie and then because it does well, they decide to try to make a sequel. And my thing is like when you do that, you kind of oftentimes sacrifice fundamentals about the story, the world, the character. And so I do worry about that for X and Y if that happens.
The only argument I'll give, no, I agree with that completely. The only argument I'll give for the likelihood of a future is that the last game, Scarlet and Violet, had a big focus on the past, the future, and obviously we've had our past Legends game. Maybe we get a future Legends game to kind of go side and side with that. And what that might mean is that like then with future Legends title, we're always going to have this question of like, what are the possibilities? Like we know it could be the past, we know it could be the future, and like that would always be an exciting thing to think about and speculate about going forward. So,
the other week I was thinking to myself, I just kind of went back to the original theory when we saw the teaser trailer for ZA. And the idea that, right, everyone's like, is it the future? Is it the past? That's what we're talking about right now. But I remember there was a main theory that basically just suggested we can go back and forth between the two different time periods, right? So you that's
another option as well.
And
it'd be wild.
And it's like...
It would be wild. Pokemon's never done it before, really. Like, we've never physically time traveled the character.
To me, that's not true. In Arceus, we time travel.
Well, that's yes,
true.
But not like back and forth. I mean, like time traveling. You know what I mean?
Like actively as like a mechanic. I just imagine
actually in the Heart Gold SoulSilver.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm saying. That's true. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That was
lame. Did we go back and forth or no?
Yeah, you did. You go and to multiple points as well.
You could also say in Sun and
But
Moon.
I know what you mean.
You go through dimensions.
It's not it's not like Ocarina of Time. It's not like doing that
But I'm
thing,
imagining
and
Ocarina of Time. I'm like, why can't they do that? That's so cool.
that would be really interesting though, to see like a game that is set either side of 150 years in either direction of X and Y, and we can never visit the X and Y time, but we always just jump between these 2 points.
Yeah.
And it's we're living in the future, but by understanding the past and going back and learning stuff, it helps us build out Lumio City. That is totally a way of doing it. But
Which would be fun.
That'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'd be curious what their stance on time travel would be. You know, like would it be like the things I do now impact the events later, or is it like a timeline thing? You know,
I think it would be a little bit. I think it would be a little bit of both. I think it would be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you know, like Marvel did the whole thing in Avengers where they're like, oh, we're going back to the events of Avengers, but it doesn't impact our present, you know?
Sure.
Yeah, no, I think I think it would be both, because when you're playing a video game unlike a movie, part of the fun of it is like, I'm playing Ocarina of Time, I go back in time, I do this thing that unlocks a door that I'm going to come to 7 years from now. Like that mechanic feels like a gratifying thing for a video game.
Yeah, I think that like the idea of hopping could also, and this is kind of the second thing I wanted to get your take on, that's been a big buzz in the community, but you have if you're hopping between different time periods, that would make more sense as to why the game is maybe set in one place. And that was kind of what I wanted to get your thoughts on, was we're being told that Legend ZA takes entirely within Lumio City.
Yeah.
Like, what's your take on that?
The subversion is that.
So I like that. And I like that with the time travel. The other thing I like it with is something I'm really interested to see them explore is the Paris catacombs, which are underneath Paris. There are a ton of mazes and of like bones and skulls and all sorts of stuff. And people get lost down there. And this gameplay has been tried and tested most recently with Tears of the Kingdom, and you might think, what's the connection there? Overworld, underworld. That's all we're talking about. We're talking about like the whole thing can be within Lumio City,
but there's depth to the city.
There's depth to it, and then you've got this reverse of like the tower of light that reaches to the sky, and then a sort of spiral of darkness that leads down into the pit. Some monster below the city that threatens the whole balance, the whole ecosystem of the thing. So you could absolutely see that, and in fact, the other thing is that in Pokemon X and Y, the ultimate weapon is literally underneath the earth.
Yeah.
There could be an argument that there's a prototype of the ultimate weapon, which is underneath where the tower is built. There's all sorts that they could do with it. There's so much they could play around with. In having this kind of like hub world, and then these like underneath adventure zones that are all, and they could look like anything. There could be all sorts of reasons that, much like the Area Zero Underdepths, there could be all sorts of reasons why the ecosystem under Lumios is like, it's kind of like the Grand Underground in Sinnoh, where there's like a tundra under there, and there's like a magma zone, and there's all these other things. So you can sort of do whatever you want with Pokemon, which is really, really nice. That would be very cool. Something like that. But if not, the time travel thing also totally works.
I had this vision
of... you are like positive about the it being set in one city, because I know when it got revealed, you're not.
No, I'm not. I actually do think we will get to. There are so many locations in Kalos that like you're telling me we're gonna do a Legends Kalos game and we're not gonna see the Anastar City sundial.
It's so perfect for Kalos though. It's so perfect because they cut everything from Kalos and now it's just like, we're just going to bring you back to just the city, and that's it. We're not even going to show you the rest of the region.
There's so much lore out there.
I agree.
But I think the opportunity for this game...
It really is.
I mean, yes, it would be sad. I mean, I don't care about Kalos that much, so I'm like not that scorned by it. But I do think
I don't either, but there's so much lore.
Yes,
the
but you
problem. It's just, like,
but
there's
you
so
can
much.
get all of that, I think, through like dialogue and stuff, and through the actual story. I
You're
think
telling me
there's
that we're not
such.
going to visit the Tower of Mastery? Like, it's
don't
a game
care.
about Mega Evolution.
don't
What are you
care.
talking about? Like, I am not convinced. I am not convinced that we're going to
a good
to
take.
just stay with Lumia City. It doesn't make sense to me because, like, first of all, there's all these lore-based locations. You got the Tower of Mastery and the Glittering Cave and the Ultimate Weapons location, Geosend and Reflection
sure.
Cave and the Anastar City Sundial that are all so integral to the history of this region, and you're telling me a Legends game is not about like AZ and the Ultimate Weapon and all that. So
I
that's
think-
first
yeah.
of all. And second of all, where are you putting Howitzer and Avalug and like all these other Pokemon? Like, what are they just going to be in the city? Like, what are you talking about?
Sure. That's
Well,
a good.
it's worth
That's a good
though,
one for
in
me.
the
I like that.
trailer.
I get that.
Howitzer I can see
the-
in the river.
Oh yeah, in the trailer,
Sure,
like
sure.
Kauri's in the river, a Gyarados and a Dragonair in the river. You've got a crocodile just walking around
Where's
outside of, I
Where's
think, the
Noibat?
Louvre.
Where's
But-
Noibat?
Flying. It's all
Avalug-
flying.
Listen, no,
Or
Avalug is the
Paris
best call, though.
Catacombs.
Where does
What?
the iceberg go?
Wait, the iceberg can just be one of the canals. My vision of this game, I think a huge opportunity for this game is to basically give us a glimpse of maybe what Generation 10 could look like. I think this will be one of the honestly, I played a Sword version recently, and I was blown away by the scale between your player character and the rest of the cities that you would go to. You felt like the scale was proper for an actual city, and I think in Pokemon Legends ZA, that version of Lumio City is going to be to scale, but the difference will be that you can go into these buildings, that you can traverse these buildings, you can have ride Pokemon, you can go underneath tunnels, and everything will be bustling. That promise of Castelia City, right, in black and white, right? Mm-hmm. Toby, remember when
it
we
would
went
have
to
to
New
be
York
Castelia.
together? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And there was
Yeah.
and the whole time you're thinking about Castelia City. But really, when
Yeah.
you go to Castelia City in the game in Gen 5, there's nothing to do. But in this game, it's gonna feel like it's gonna feel like GTA or something, you know?
Adding to that too, it's also
You
like
gotta expand our minds.
how do we define Lumio City? Because like something I've always preached on the podcast is that if you look at the routes, there's 5 routes outside of Lumio City, and if you look at those 5 routes, they look like a part of Lumio City. The first one is a topiary garden. That's easily just a garden that's a part of the Lumio City. The second one's a skate park. Why can't that be a skate park in Lumio City? The third one is a place literally called the Lumiose Badlands with the power plant that powers Lumio City.
Mm-hmm.
The next one is a playground. Could easily be, a park in Lumio City. And then the other one, that one's a little looser. It's like some docks around a pond. But, that stuff can exist in cities too.
Yeah, I could see that. Also, like Parfum Palace. Like, we're gonna learn about Parfum Palace, surely.
True, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like, Lumio City could be bigger, I suppose. Only a few days till we find out. I think.
Dude, yeah. Yeah. That's
I wonder
so
if-
wild.
I know we don't ever talk about this, but it's just like, is it impossible that we get like another Kalos game in the future though? Like maybe they just are like, we're just gonna keep it to Lumio City right now, and then like 10 years from now we're gonna make another Kalos game where we explore
Definitely.
more Kalos.
That is what I imagine. My vision for the next generation of Pokemon, this game, ZA and Generation 10, I want to see these Pokemon locations in full, beautiful HD 3D. I want Lumio City blown up, and I want to be able to see every single aspect of this location. I think that has so much more value than just getting these, like, basically what the Faithful remakes are offering. Everyone complains about the Faithful remakes, but I'm like, I don't think it's possible. I think Game Freak's giving us 2 extremes. They're giving us top-down imagination version of these regions, these little toy versions of the regions, and then in Legends ZA, what I'm hoping for is this like fully immersive game, similar the
Like
city,
in-depth.
similar to
In-depth,
GTA,
right.
right? I'm not like whatever city we've had. Like imagine Saffron City to its fullest potential, right? Like that's beautiful. That would be so beautiful. So that's my vision.
I'm right in the middle. I'm right in the middle of the both of you because it's just like I could see it being mostly in Lumio City, but then like maybe we go to the Lumiose Badlands like at the end, like a post game area, or like
let's take the
Anastar
train to
City.
Kalude City or something.
Yeah, like
Sure,
just,
yeah, no, that would be really. I think that there's definitely an
something
opportunity for that.
small. I don't know.
I think that's
just my-
definitely
Do we
possible
think DLC's a possibility?
I do think that.
for ZA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I'm just trying to pull up an image to kind of show what ZA maybe could actually feel like. I think the scale is going to be there, right? This is just an image of Persona 5. But there's so many video games that do this, and I think it would be awesome to be in this area, but like instead of all these random humans, you've got Pokemon. It's the Pokemon
And
version
humans.
of all this. Yeah, and humans. But like like when I think about the anime, right? When Ash would like go to the one of the leagues, right? And you see all these powerful trainers in this city format with their Avalugg, with their Gogoat, with all their like final evolution Pokemon. And I'm like, I think we could see that in the city. A city is a melting pot of all the cultures of not only a region, but also multiple regions, right? So in Lumio City, there's an opportunity
And
to
biomes.
yeah, exactly. To not only get Kalos lore, but to get people from what if like Zinnia's ancestor or whatever shows up, right? Why would you know what I'm saying? Like, there's all these cool people from Hoenn, which was the other Gen 6 game, right? You could get characters from Johto, characters from Unova showing up in Lumio City. I know this is Toby's platform, but that's my prediction. That's
It's
my
your
prediction.
platform. It's all good. I'm excited for that. That's cool. I can totally see it.
All right, let's move on now to Gen 10.
Okay, so we want to thank all of our members and patrons, and we want to give a special shout out to our mythical tier supporters: Hayden Segal, Ryan, Amphosiness, Coronet Highlander, Chris, Tyler Low 15, JMO557, Ball Guy, Leaks, Primal Gray, Andrew Millite Jr., Case, Oven Carson, Stills, Sully the Skeleton, Nerdy Seb, NMT Arts, Gray Williams, Papanito King, Northender, Travis Mashburn, Matt Hale, and the Pokey Kiddo 1. We want to give a shout out to our Arceus tier supporter, Red or Carson K, and a Gigantamax size shout out to our Game Freak Inc. level members, Young Smokey and Bramtastic. Thank you all so much. My goodness, I
Thank you,
feel like
guys.
I'm doing the Pokey rap at
You
this
really
point.
are, man.
I
know. It's impressive, to be honest.
Thank you guys so much for your support. Someone joined this week it was actually at the $10 tier. And they asked if we had any more of those holiday gifts, and we did have a couple more. So they just joined, and they sent me their address, and it's off in the U.S. post office right now. It's headed to their house. So if you join at the $10 tier, we might have a couple more of these holiday gifts. But if you want your
ask.
yeah, just ask.
No guarantee, but ask.
No guarantee,
No
but
guarantee.
yeah. And if you want your name read at the end of the show, we've got the mythical tier right here. Where you get producer credits and bragging rights, of course. If, here's the thing though, $5 on Patreon or on YouTube gets you into the door. You get into the secret Discord. You get access to our entire archive of gaming VODs, all those videos of us playing games and yapping about Pokemon. You also get access to the entire archive of Secret Power podcast episodes. We actually recorded an episode with Toby that is on the podcast, or it's on the YouTube. It's on Patreon right now for supporters. In the Discord, you can also get access to the Battle League. We do monthly bonus podcasts. Those are the Secret Power episodes. We've been doing live call-in shows. We're gonna have one next month after Pokemon Day. Lumi, do we have a date for that? The live call-in show?
I mean, I have a date in mind. Y'all did not confirm.
What is it?
Is it
Let's
March?
roll the dice.
March
What is it?
11th. March 11th.
Yeah, that
11th?
sounds right. That
Yeah,
sounds
that's
right.
right.
That sounds
March
right.
11th. Okay.
March 11th. If you're in the Discord, $5 in the Discord, you can call live.
Which
Be-
means if you sign
be on
up
the
right now,
podcast.
you will be eligible for it because memberships last a month.
Yeah, and you get 10% off merch as a member. All of that is unlocked at $5. A little bit higher tier, you get your name read on the show. And we got new merch. As I said earlier, we got new merch. If you want to celebrate Pokemon Legends ZA, if you love Kalos, if you love the show, scoop up some merch. These are some I sound like a broken record, but literally, this is my favorite merch line. Every single time we come out with a collection, it becomes my new favorite merch line. Like, where is this right here?
That just shows how good it all
I love the glass.
Look at this chest spin right
Yeah,
here. Oh my
that's
god.
cool.
Oh yeah, it's also adorable. I don't know that anything can beat the Dream Eater line personally.
It is pretty
that was
good.
freaking fire.
Lumi, you gotta be.
But-
We were promoting this one though right now. We're promoting this one.
I know, but I had to stick up for my fave, man.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah,
Cool.
thank you guys so much for all your support, continued support. You guys make episodes like this possible with our good friend Toby.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Thanks for being here, man. let's talk now about Generation 10. We definitely talked about it a little bit earlier on, but Toby, you got the floor. Where's your brain at with Gen 10? And this is
Gen 10,
and again, this is for listeners. This is the 30th year anniversary, right? This is 1 year from now is going to be the 30th year anniversary Pokemon Day. It's a big year, big year.
I mean, unless they announce it for later this year.
Sure, yeah.
No chance. No, like I think it would be silly to wait to the 30th anniversary and the 10th generation. Now, to be fair, I had also said that we probably wouldn't be on 1,000 Pokemon by now, but that prediction obviously fell flat as well. I thought that we were going to hit that in Gen 10. But that's fine. They did it anyway. That's fine. I think that so with Gen 10, it's a weird point because it's the 10th generation of them doing this generation thing where they just kind of, and you might think, well, how else would they do it? But like, remember, like at the very beginning, Gen 1 was just Pokemon. It was just 151 Pokemon. That's what they were. Then they added 100 more Pokemon in a sequel. And then it was only really when we got to Ho and it was like, oh, we are now into a pattern of some kind that keeps on repeating and has a similar structure and idea around the Pokedex and around what a game is and what a game, has in it. Like, I mean, the second generation of games are very much a sequel. They have in them a lot of DNA of like just being very different from like what. Like no game would revisit an older region after that kind of thing.
It was a sequel rather than a kind of a reboot.
Yes, and actually it was a sequel very much designed to forefront Kanto Pokemon that were selling so well and doing so well. A lot of people say that it was intended to be the last. That's, I think, been disproven that was not ever the case, that they were not intending for Gen 2 to be the end.
That was a popular theory. Yeah.
So we've been doing this cycle now. And now we are coming up to number 10. And number 10 is just like a big number. It's just a big part of human psychology. It's how many fingies we have and thumbs. And it's just
toes.
It's a big moment. And I think, and I've been saying this, and I think there's even a clip with me on this podcast talking about this, where it's like, okay, so we now need to work out, is this the nature of Pokemon for the next 70 years? Like, Pokemon's going to be a 100-year-long company at some point. Of course they are. They're going to keep going forever. I think they're in that place where they're almost too big to fail. Are they going to continue with the same formula that's seen success for the last 30, knowing that it might get stale, knowing that they have people already who are talking about like how like repetitive and how they're no longer guaranteed to buy the next Pokemon game, though their sales numbers say different? Or do we see is Gen 10 the end of an era? Is it the beginning of a new era? As we've spoken about earlier in this podcast, could it be the beginning of like changing up the way generations work, and that it's actually a once every 10 year or once every 5 year thing with lots of attachments and lots of extra content? It's hard to say. I don't have predictions on this, only that if there is going to be a big radical change, I think it will either be Generation 10 or Generation 11. I think whatever the formula is going to be for the next 10, 20, 30 years is what we will see either with the Gen 10 games or the Gen 11 games. That would be my guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm curious. I think, earlier in the episode, I was screaming about my vision. Listeners have heard my vision for Generation 10. But Toby, like, is there, you basically, in the aftermath of this experimental time and all of these experimental Generation 8 and Generation 9 titles, right? They've had their ups and downs, their pros and cons. But you did leave YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And I think part of that is a result of the quality of these Pokemon games. As we look towards Generation 10, is there like, I don't know, are there elements that you're yearning for, or is there like a baseline that you feel?
Absolutely. I mean, I think they were hitting on the right strokes with Legends Arceus. I think they were like heading in a good direction with that, with open world zones. I still believe open world could totally work. I just think it was like a implementation, it was an execution issue.
Yeah. There's such a feeling with Legends Arceus. I'm playing through it right now, and I think it holds up.
Yeah. I mean, 10 years, I think one of the, not the mistakes, but like the 20th anniversary of Pokemon really acted as a celebration of 20 years by highlighting a ton of Kanto stuff. And like, that's fine, that's cool, I get that. But I do think now is a great opportunity to look back at the entirety of the franchise and say, okay, what works about the fundamentals of those Kanto games? Like, 8 gym leaders, an Elite Four, a champion, an evil team. Cool, that works. What works about Generation 2? Revisiting older areas. That's very, very exciting. Generation 3, what really worked there? The battle facilities at the very, very end. That stuff's very, very exciting. And like, you know, really just taking the best of everything and putting it into one place. Like that's kind of what I would hope to see. I don't think we'll see it in a mainline game, but something you've probably talked about a lot on this podcast or just generally is like trying out the 2D HD stuff and like trying sprite art again. I think that'd be great. I don't see that happening with this particular title. It feels too experimental. It feels like if they were going to do it, we would have already seen that experiment in BDSP or something. But like,
I think there's room for that in the future, but I'm not.
Yeah.
At this point, you know, it's funny. Like we put out a couple episodes recently, really kind of diving into our preferences when it comes to these like faithful remakes, like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And I'm actually kind of surprised on some of these clips and some of these videos that we put out. A lot of people are just coming out of the woodwork being like, "I liked them," right? And I'm assuming these are not fanatics like us, right?
Right.
So,
like
anyways.
what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen some of the comments, guys, but like it's nice. It's also refreshing to be like, oh, okay, maybe.
Well, when you say these faithful remakes, we're just talking about Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl.
Yeah,
it's just one.
Yeah, just one. I was thinking also maybe like the art style and the delivery of like Let's Go, which is a little bit more. It's a little chibi, right?
Yeah. I think people like the art style of Let's Go. I've been pretty controversial in that I've said before, like, I think BDSP had the makings of a good game somewhere in there, but it just didn't execute right on it in terms of things like the games they based them off rather than doing it off of Platinum, which was silly.
Which is real.
And then there's just certain visual cues that I think like the game looks gorgeous, but like you compare it again to other things in industry like Link's Awakening, it doesn't look as good. That's just like and it's like. You're so close. You're so close. Why are you? And then there was all sorts of other little tidbits that just maybe not like the games as a whole.
My vision for, and I'm not trying to derail us, but like, I feel like every time I think about BDSP or want to talk about a faithful remake, what I'm envisioning when I'm defending it is not the game we got. What I'm envisioning is like, a game that maybe has 6 months to a year more of development, or now that Ilka has been working closely with Game Freak, right? There's Pokemon Works exists now, right? Maybe now because if they have like 3, 4, 5 years of not development but experience working together, now we could see future faithful remakes that have that polish that really just at the end of the day are. Yeah, I guess just a faithful remake. It's literally the same game that you played growing up. So
I'm gonna pitch something here.
Yeah.
And again, this is a crazy idea, and it's more likely to just be black and white than black and white. Okay, but here's the go.
Sure.
Between Legends EA and the 30th anniversary at the end of 2026, as a part of the 30th anniversary, looking back over the history of the franchise, that halfway point where we had sprite arts, 2D HD versions of Black and Black 2 Remix, White and White 2 Remix, and it's some story that has like both games in one, and it takes a hint from like Octopath Traveler and the Final Fantasy game that did it, and it just kind of does that, and it's like a celebration of the franchise's history by going to that dead halfway point and saying, hey, in the last 30 years, that was the moment we shifted from 2D to 3D.
That's
to kind of gauge a feel of like how people would feel for a Gen 11 or something going forward, if that was something.
Have you heard us talk about that at all?
Maybe. Like, I feel like it's a
what about last
kind
week?
of. Did you want to last week?
Well,
No. We haven't mentioned that it was like a 2D or even the sprites kind of thing, but at least that you came up with the idea of there being a black and white remake in between Legends EA and the 30th anniversary Gen 10.
Yeah.
Like
we
You guys had already.
I
chatted
still think
about
that's a possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking
still think
last
it's a
week
big
about how
possibility.
like the idea of maybe the faithful remakes, BDSP, missed their mark because they didn't do enough to make the games different, right? So it's almost like a love letter to existing fans of the Sinnoh games,
Right.
but also there's enough there that new fans could latch onto it, right? And it can be a new experience for those people as well.
When we with what you said, Dusty, about your point of like, I don't think it matters if they had more development time with BDSP, but if they have been working closer together with Game Freak, and if they are given liberty to do something new, then I think it's successful. Like, all they have to do is something new, just something new, instead of like just putting a reskin on the game and actually taking away things.
Yeah. I think they also need to like tighten up the actual gameplay engine. I think BDSP does not feel good to play.
Well, that was because it was Diamond and Pearl, though.
No. I think like controlling your character in the overworld, controlling your character in a 360 like direction, but having like this grid based world is very jarring because oftentimes you clip, it doesn't work. I feel like there's things like that need to be like polished out. That's just one example. Anyways, we're getting off topic. I think when I say Gen 10, it's like, it's impossible to like predict what they would actually do, right? You can get a little speculative, like, oh, is it going to be, a living game? Is it going to be, maybe like a celebration island hopping game like Alola, right? During the 20th year anniversary. Yeah. You can speculate about it on that. And maybe you can come back for further speculation of the future, but
I wanted to push back on what Toby was saying a little bit. I do agree with you that they need to change something, but I do think that it would be for Gen 11 instead of 10, personally.
Because I just think your chapter here and then do a new story,
Exactly. That's kind of how I feel about it.
I don't disagree. I think that's a great it's a great opportunity to look back and celebrate the whole thing. Mm-hmm. At the same time, like,
it could be either or. I mean,
you want to capitalize on this hype moment to say like, this is the plan going forward. So I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. I'm
it's
just
like
something
especially with like that. It was Scarlet and Violet would be their like last generation game kind of thing. I don't know. It's just like I feel maybe that's not what they had planned, but
I think something interesting about Gen 10 is that I feel like personally Legends EA has a lot of hint, I guess, to it, in that we know that Mega Evolution's returning in Legends EA. This is something that has not been seen in a mainline game since Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, so it hasn't been seen, in like the competitive circuit, especially since Gen 7. And what's interesting about this to me is we're all thinking that there's new Mega Evolutions in Legends EA, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. And so my thing is, I'm thinking about how Legends Arceus, a big selling point of Scarlet and Violet, specifically when Home was like a big thing they used to market Home being compatible with Scarlet and Violet now all those new Pokemon that you got in Legends Arceus, you could bring into Scarlet and Violet, and it was a really big moment because like it shook up competitive. I mean, Ursaluna is still like a top dog in competitive. So many others are, but then also it was fun just from a player's perspective too, because the Legends games are so different. So you can see these Pokemon in a different light. You also like now they have abilities, so in a lot of ways they feel like different Pokemon. All that, and so I think if there's gonna be new Mega Evolutions in Legends EA, I feel like that could be a very good bit of evidence to Mega Evolution also being in Gen 10.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that we don't okay. So that like if there's like a Mega Flygon, for example, we don't feel robbed of that we never get to play with it in competitive because
you will in Gen 10.
You're almost guaranteeing that there has to be Mega Evolution in Gen 10. That's true. If there's no competitive scene within ZA, then that's kind of a given.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of interesting to me because I do feel like Gen 10 would have it's become a staple of Pokemon now since Generation 6. Honestly, you could argue since Generation 5 that each game has had its own gimmick. And
what was the Gen 5 gimmick? Rotation?
The Wonder Launcher.
What?
There was a little like
oh my God, you're right.
Thing
you could like use
where you can like heal your Pokemon. Yeah, like it's weird. I don't fully understand how it works, but
I would have said it was isn't it rotation battles or triple?
But anyways, see, that doesn't really affect competitive,
Sure.
Does it? Oh, I guess you're right. Yeah.
Like, because they don't play rotation and triple battles.
All right. That's good.
Like,
good
it's like
trivia.
inverse or sky battles aren't what counts in Gen 6, I would say. But like, I say that to say, like, so I think there'll be a gimmick in Gen 10. I would think there would be.
Yeah.
But if Mega Evolution's also returning, then this would have to be a gimmick that can coincide with Mega Evolution, which isn't impossible. Z-Moves did it. But that just kind of makes me wonder, what could that be? And also, is it true that Mega Evolution's returning? And frankly, if Mega Evolution's returning, do they bring anything else back? I would love the idea, and I think this will work better with, like, the home idea that you talked about earlier, Toby. But, like, I would love the idea of, like, if you have all gimmicks are usable, but what you do is with competitive, you just go, okay, Season 1, we're only using this Gen 10 gimmick. Season 2, okay, you can use the Gen 10 gimmick and Megas. Season 3, okay, now you can use Z-Moves and Dynamax, or to use an example.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, Toby, I think the last time we spoke, you even had this big I think right before you took your break, you put out a video speculating and kind of connecting. No, dude, it was in New York. You told me on the bench. You were like, you said Generation 10 is going to have these titans, these massive creatures that are the gods of gods. And you said all the gimmicks are going to return and be recognized as a single gimmick.
Okay, so those are two separate thoughts. So one of them is that I think that they've spent the last couple of generations introducing like Gigantamax and Primal Reversion and Terrestrial Pokemon and Mega Evolution. And obviously the problem with this is that it's all very, very separate. And like, if, what's interesting is that like new Pokemon like Terrapagos and Ogerpon are designed with the terrestrial form in mind, I would have thought. And many of the like Center Scorch and Corviknight and the sort of design going like this is going to Gigantamax. Orbeetle is a cool Pokemon on its own. It works on its own, but it's also like it feels like it's missing something because we got it first with Gigantamax and then that's taken away. So my thought is that what we're going to eventually see is ultimate forms or something along those lines. And Charizard would have effectively 3 of these. It would have Mega Y, Mega X, and Gigantamax. And it would all sort of become the same phenomenon or some phenomenon that mimics other phenomenons, and so it allows for all of these things to coexist in one space without breaking the law, because all of these things are already different forms of infinity energy, life energy, Mega Evolution, like all the rest of it, of aura. So that was the second thought, and then the first thought was about Titans. Pokemon has been absolutely obsessed with giant Pokemon. Like, it's a big thing. Whether you're talking about the Totem Pokemon, the Gigantamax Pokemon generally, the Noble Pokemon and the Alpha Pokemon. Even Let's Go had size differences. Is there another one? I'm definitely there's other ones I'm missing.
So many times in the anime, they like make a big hype of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Lola. Lola.
The Titans in Scarlet and Violet.
The Titans, right, of course, in Scarlet, literally Titans. Yeah. And we keep on seeing things in the lore, like a giant's head is the mountain of Kitakami.
Sure.
The region of Galar has the giant's foot and the giant's this and the giant's that. And the Arceus plates talk about the power of defeated giants being infused in the plates. I think where the lore is maybe skewing towards is slowly but surely revealing us some creature that are these giants, these creatures that are more than Pokemon, other than Pokemon, maybe not even catchable, maybe just bosses, that are like more like fundamental forces within the Pokemon kind of cosmos that Arceus, channeled into the plate types or whatever. Eternatus is almost an incarnation of this in some form or another. But it's hard to tell at this point. We've not actually seen anything definitive. There's just a lot to do with giants. There's a lot to do with Titans. It's the same theme. And the energy of these giants usually comes in the form of a Megastone, a Z Crystal, or some gemstone that's like, or rock or Arceus plate that's got the energy within it that seems to transform Pokemon. It's just a theme that keeps coming up over and over and over again. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something in Gen 10 at some point, or maybe beyond. But who knows?
I think that's pretty interesting too when you like you have a lot of people who've speculated. I mean, I feel like this has been speculated for a while now that like at some point Pokemon will go to Rome or Greece or Italy or Greece,
yeah, dude.
because of like Roman and Greek mythology. I mean, you're already seeing Pokemon's been playing around with like those kinds of designs that are taking inspiration from that for forever.
And Volo and the spear pillar doesn't not take inspiration from this kind of ancient Greek, and it would make for a nice connection to Arceus and the Arceus plates if there were like these the Greek titans, of Mount Olympus or whatever. So it'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. Is like you have in Greek mythology, you have the Titans like predated the gods, and then like it was kind of like these two separate eras. So like, does Pokemon explore that where there's like the Pokemon era and the era before it, the era of the giants?
Yeah, and I think the giants would be something akin to Ultra Beasts. There would be something akin to just some creature that is like maybe it is a Pokemon. Maybe you can put it in a Pokeball. Maybe that's just like fundamentally important for them. But it's also other than Pokemon. It is some other outer being that is.
Sure. I mean, they have been playing around with like these subsections of Pokemon. Even in what's interesting is like used to like all these Pokemon, Ultra Beasts and Mythicals were classified like in coding as legendary Pokemon. But then Scarlet and Violet, they actually did revisit that, and there's legendary Pokemon, and then there's a whole nother section now for Mythicals. They're not under legendary anymore. There's a whole nother section for Ultra Beasts. They're not under legendary anymore. And now there's paradoxes. So it does like make sense, like them going in this direction where they do want to make these other classifications of the species.
Yeah. That'd be so cool. These archetypes are some of my favorite, I think. I think just it just feels really cool to have these like Pokemon that are Pokemon. I feel like the way you got to look at it is like, just like humans are animals, humans in the Pokemon world are Pokemon, I would think. Like, I think every living organism in the Pokemon world is a Pokemon, right? Maybe not really, but like kind of.
They're not really a Pokemon, but they
You know what I'm saying? Like, just like, I think that the science of the world works the same. So,
I mean, we're arguing about nothing here, right?
Actually, Christian fundamentalist arguing about
actually clear. As a lawkeeper, I think that humans are biologically evolved from like just regular, like how they would in the real world. However, they do seem to be infused with Pokemon like life force energy. Humans definitely have a magical property to them that seems to allow them to communicate with Pokemon, sometimes use special powers,
the
and
fusions between humans.
Stand within a few feet of a Magcargo.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Kadabra once was a human.
I'll tell you what it's like. It's like a wizard. It's like as opposed to like a human being. They've got innate magic within them. Or I suppose that would be a sorcerer, but they've got innate magic in them that means that they can tap into this Pokemon mastery that allows them to. And then Pokeballs are effectively wands. They're effectively
No, perfect. I love it. Yeah. So I think what it just excites me about these like archetypes is that it's the idea of most Pokemon are just your average, earth-dwelling creatures. But then there's these there's always been legendary Pokemon. But now we have these other subcategories. And I like the idea of these select few Pokemon just like, I guess, functioning differently within the world, having a unique set of powers, having a unique set of origins. I think it's interesting, right? And
Oh, go on.
Yeah. No, and I think what we got to do someday is sit down and take a look at all the different archetypes from sci-fi to kind of pick apart maybe what new archetypes in Pokemon we could see in the future.
If they did like Goliath Pokemon that are like these, absolute like, true beasts, I think a thing that they sort of already played with the Titan battles and with max raid dens and stuff is the idea of like, imagine we've never had where like you have a Pokemon that counts as two Pokemon on the field. Like, imagine how competitive would shift, how interesting it would be if like on your team you could have one of these creatures, and this creature when it's sent out takes up both spaces on the board, and the stat line is going to be absurd to make for that, but then your limitation is that you have less moves, less turns to work
You
with.
could
I
argue
think that
they've-
could be interesting.
You could argue they've like even like put their toes in the water there with Dondozo and Tatsugiri. Where like
Symbiosis.
it is 2 Pokemon, but it's like you get a boost for Dondozo, but Tatsugiri is not attacking. Like while it's been eaten by the Dondozo, you can only use your Dondozo, but Dondozo gets a boost from it, and when Dondozo faints, it goes away, and now the Tatsugiri's back out as a Tatsugiri.
Is that how it works in competitive? I don't think I've ever used them in competitive.
Yep.
Interesting. I could
That's
see that.
weird. Interesting.
Or one of your Pokemon sort of combines with this
Yeah.
Proto Force. But at this point in time, we've just like, obviously this is all wild speculation,
Yeah.
but I could see a mechanic like that being really, really interesting.
Just our wishes, you know?
Yeah, I think so. That'd be really cool. We'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think we'll see that this week, but we are days away from Pokemon Day when this is airing, and like I'm feeling pretty buzzed for it.
What I do want to get before we wrap, what I do want to hear is no, I guess you already said it. You already talked about ports.
Yeah.
You already talked about ports.
he did.
Damn, dude.
You already made him do
Oh
it.
man,
Justin.
no ports for me on a Pokemon.
I just
Day.
Talking about ports.
What I realized is like I went to go play Leaf Green and I was like, I was like, if I didn't have the cartridge and a Game Boy, there's literally no way to play it. The only way to play like Kanto on modern console is like if you can get a 3DS and you can play the virtual console, but you can't even download it. The only thing you can do is buy Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. I was like, I'm baffled.
Say, in fairness to you, Dusty, on the ports thing, I still think no matter what, like they're saving, like I've literally said at this point, if they have ports ready to go, I think you don't click that launch button until next year because it's just such a nostalgic thing. How could you not?
Yeah.
But the biggest points I think ever for ports happened last week, and that was the home update for where now you can get mythicals for completing the dexes of Sword and Shield and Let's Go. And the Let's Go reward is a shiny Meltan, which by the way is kind of a bad reward because you can't even evolve it.
No, but it's still cool. It's a collectible.
If you say so. Well,
That's
also
that's
too,
all,
this is
they're all
something-
collectibles. That's all they are.
Yeah, but this is something that was previously available too, and has been made available several times.
In Go.
Yeah.
In Go,
where you
but
can
still.
actually evolve it.
Where you can actually evolve it. So just a better version of this
Sure.
event has been released before. But my thing is like, it did make me kind of go, man, does that not set it perfectly for them to do ports of Gens 1 through 3 and they go, okay, you beat Red and you do the Red, Blue, Yellow decks, you get Shiny Mew.
Yep.
You do it for Gold, Silver, Crystal, Shiny Celebi.
Yep.
You do it for Fire Red, Leaf Green, Shiny Deoxys.
Yep.
Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, Shiny Jirachi.
It definitely sets it up. I don't know. At the same time, people were saying like it's just to like send off the Switch, like Switch games. So it's
But
like
what do
all
we
of
say-
the Switch games so far.
And maybe it is, but again, it's
Yeah, but the Switch
choice
ain't
to
dying.
do Meltan over Mew. Like, just
Yeah, I agree.
blows my mind.
Nah, that makes
Yeah.
sense. I think it's cool. Hey,
Well,
listen.
no, I mean that makes sense because Pokemon Go might not be around forever. Like
Oh, interesting.
that's why that's gonna be the case.
That's true.
See, I was saying we wouldn't
Well,
get
they better come up
shiny
with a
Mel-
way to evolve it then.
Yeah.
It will.
It is interesting though,
Yeah.
because like Lumi, I was telling you, like I was like, no, they won't give us a shiny Meltan because that's like Pokemon Go's property, right? Like that's their project. And they did give it to us, but they just wouldn't allow us to evolve it into a Meltan. You still gotta wait for a Pokemon Go distribution to get that.
But it's because in Legends EA, Meltan will get access to evolving in a game and will get a Mega Evolution.
Dude, a Mega
Okay, whoa.
Mel Metal would be insane.
I
Okay.
would love that.
That would be cool.
I got three thoughts, very quick, rapid
Alright.
fire. Number one, Meltan is the only Pokemon without an official region, so maybe it's a Gen 10 Pokemon.
Yes!
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay,
I think so.
number two. No, I forgot. No, okay. Number two, my question was, do you think Meltan? No, okay, maybe it's not from the Gen 10 region, but maybe it's from the region that is Pokemon Legends ZA. And the reason I say that, and you're gonna be like, that's Kalos, is, and my question to you all, do we think it's got a different name?
Yeah,
Like how
that's cool.
history was not Sinnoh?
I'm
possible.
team present day. I'm team it's like a few years after X and Y, so I think it would still be Kalos.
What if it's just called the Lumio City at the heart of the land, and the land is called ZA, the land of ZA or something?
That'd be epic.
Oh, that's cool.
I would enjoy
It all
that.
takes place in the kingdom of Azoth.
Because they
Yeah.
called.
Oh,
Yeah, there you
yes.
go. Yeah.
Wow. Dude,
That would
that's-
have made a lot of sense.
This
I
is
mean, like-
another podcast we've just
Yeah,
walked
this is
into.
great.
It's like another episode.
How about this,
Well,
Toby?
I originally was like, are we not going to speculate on Z8? But I guess we will once we do Pokemon Day.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's one
Toby,
thing, too,
how
is
about, how
like
about we,
I
how about we meet up in a couple weeks and we do another episode? How's that sound?
Yeah,
Yeah,
where I'm
that
just
sounds
like,
really good.
All right.
I do want to get, before we close out, Toby, any Mega Evolutions you'd want to see in ZA? Like,
Oh man.
not predictions, but just wish list, really.
yeah, just like, what do you want to see?
Yeah, you know what? Give me a Mega Clorf. Give me a Mega.
Yeah.
Give me a couple of Hisuian Megas. Like, give me a Mega Cleavor. Give me a Mega. That'd be so cool to go with Mega Scissor.
Mega
but like a Mega. That'd be cool.
Cleavor?
Yeah, that'd be cool. Give me. I mean, I really think we want to be looking to like some of the Kalos Pokemon. It would be so nostalgic. Like, give me Mega Gudra. Give me Mega Noivern.
I think we need
Phoebe's gonna be on that.
Paldean Megas, dude.
Yeah.
The Paldean Pokemon are
Yeah.
primed for some new forms.
Armarouge and Surledge need a Mega with
Yeah.
sharpness and Mega
Yo.
or launcher, and I will not I feel like they're primed for it, you know?
I think
That's your
that
ports.
with
Yeah.
with these games, you know, there's a great opportunity now to do like more modern megas rather than doing the, you know, we've already you've already taken the best out of gens 1 to, you know, to 5, not including, or gens to 1 to 4,
Yeah.
not including
1 to 4 and not no.
yeah,
It's
I don't
1
know.
through 4.
Not including Flygon.
If you
but-
if you don't count
So let's do all the
Audino.
other ones. Let's do
Yeah.
the ones. Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
Dude, Mega
Nice.
Scovillain would be insane. You
He's
don't care about that?
I don't like.
You know what we gotta do? We gotta do. Toby, we
I'd
gotta
rather
do like a
evolution.
recap video with you.
Let's wrap the podcast there.
All right. I'll see you guys. Wait, yeah. If you're still watching this, obviously subscribe if you're new. But Lorekeeper Toby has just relaunched his channel. He's got a new video on his channel right now, Lorekeeper Toby. Go check that
All
out.
about the lore of Zygarde. Everything we know about
So
Zygarde.
sick.
If you want to catch up before we go into the ZA trailers, not just everything we know from the canon, but also every theory there has been in the last 10 years about Zygarde. It's there in one
Dude,
video. So
I cannot wait to
that
watch
sounds
that.
up your street. Jump over.
Dude, that's so awesome. Every time I get into something new, my YouTube feed is flooded with like juicy lore videos. When I watched the Fallout show, like, what was it, a year ago? My whole feed, Fallout lore that I didn't even know about, dude. So, and it was so good, and that's literally your channel. I love it.
Well, I'm
All
done
right.
now.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Aye.
Subscribe to the Patreon. There's so much opportunity for the first time.
Dusty froze.
I'm
I was like,
still
am I having
here, guys.
problems again?
Hey,
Yeah, everything's
guys,
frozen
I'm
for
here.
me.
I'm here.
Same. So
Now
it's
I gotta
just
cut
us,
this
but
out.
The three of us are down here talking.
Cool.
Alright, cool.
Guys, I'm here. You there?
Dusty, that might
I'm
be
here.
Dusty.
I'm on the caffeine come down now. I'm feeling it.
I feel.
Oh, here we go. Hello?
And he's gone.
he vanished. He's definitely like under the
He's been blipped.
The dogs. Are there.
Dusty!
Look at the puppy.
Dusty!
Hey, puppy. Can the puppy hear me? Puppy, Simon. Oh, he looked.
Definitely.
He looked when I said Simon. Y'all
He
saw that.
cannot hear you. Dusty has.
He can't hear me. He can hear me. Simon. Simon. He looked again. I swear to you, he did.